Hi, guys. Welcome to this week's Soul Sanctuary podcast. I'm here with Ocean. Hi, Ocean.
Hi, Emmie. How are you?
Fabulous. You're looking fabulous today.
Girl, thank you. You are too. And I just want to ask you something.
Okay.
How does this happen? How do we keep wearing the same colors?
Because great minds think alike.
Hey, I like it. I like it.
So this week, this episode, we're at episode 45, and we're talking about divine unions, right? This, I will say right now, Ocean picked this.
Ooh. How my girl drove me under the bus like that? Okay, you know what? She's right. I did pick this, but I didn't think of this title, which is the perfect title for it.
Yes, it is. It really, really is. So I'm going to beat you to it. What
Okay.
is your thoughts on a divine union? What is that to you?
Oh, wow. So a divine union. When I think of a divine union, I think of something so beautifully sacred. I think of something that is not to be taken for granted, not something to play with. I think of respect, honesty, transparency, accountability, empathy, consistency, sovereignty, um, feeling heard, feeling seen, reciprocity, beautiful balance.
I love that. I love all of that. Do you think divine unions are something that we're all entitled to?
Well, I think if we act right, and I think that if we give those things that I just mentioned, I think that I think there's something that we deserve. I'm not going to say something that we're entitled to. I feel like they are a beautiful gift to us.
I agree. I agree. I definitely feel like divine unions are something that must be cultivated. It's not something that you immediately just walk into
Mm,
or, find laying on the street or something you can create in every single relationship you begin.
yes, yes.
Yeah. In the spiritual circles, divine union is specific.
Mm, do tell.
Girl, let me just say, well, when you brought up the different aspects of the topic you wanted to discuss, I was like, oh, you're describing a divine union. Of course, I didn't write that down. I was like, okay, we'll do that. Let me finish my lymphatic work on myself. We'll talk about relationships.
Yeah.
And I was gonna call it something else, but I was like, this is what the spiritual communities know it as. It's called a divine union.
Mm,
And divine union in spiritual communities is very, very specific. It's a term that's used to describe a romantic connection between twin flames.
mm.
So that's why I was like, I didn't pick this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely the type of union, relationship,
Mhm.
connection that seeks to honor the greatest potentiality contained within your personal truth, within your personal purpose, right?
Ooh, can we just take a moment to breathe that in? Because when we were talking, I was talking about relationships that honor our souls.
Mhm.
I love how you just put that. Oh, guys, can y'all breathe that in? Did y'all hear those words? Did you all feel those words? I felt those words. I felt them.
Annie has a comment.
Okay. Let's see what Annie talk about right now. Let's see.
It was a twitch, an eye twitch, involuntary eye twitch.
To answer your question, definitely, Annie. You knew that was coming.
It was an involuntary eye twitch that I did not intend to intend that.
She didn't intend to intend that, guys.
So with the divine unions, this is something that really we have to be very clear. It is not something that you are entitled to. It is not something that is specific, strictly for twin flames. This is something that you can cultivate with someone over time, if you have some type of alignment, if you have resonance. And it's something that requires the commitment on both parts. It's not something that only one person can create and the other person just has to fall into agreement with it. That's just not how it works. You guys, that's not how it works. In a divine union, you'll be able to be held in such a way that you can begin exploring these flaws, things you perceive as flaws about yourself. In some divine unions, you'll be called out on this, or you will see your chosen partner being a mirror of the very things you dislike about yourself the most, right? So I've been married for 20 years at this point. We've been in a relationship 24 years. And it's definitely been something that has really opened my eyes to the different ways that I function. And it's a divine union because my husband is not just consistently pointing out the ways in which I am failing, the ways in which I am less than his expectation of me. Like, he never does that. He never does that. The divinity of this union is that he will accept me exactly as I am, where I am, and he will stay there with me and hold a space open for me for as long as I need to be able to see these things about myself. That's one of the most divine types of connections you could have with someone. You can be in a divine union with a friend. I have a couple really, really special friends, and that's what they do for me as well. Like one of my BFFs, I consistently message her questions like, hey, can you ask your pendulum something? There's no like, hi, how was your day? It's just like, hey, can you ask your pendulum?
Okay.
And she always humors me. She's like, sure, what do you want to ask it? And the other day I was live streaming and I got this blip of a message, and I paused on what I was doing, and I privately messaged her like, hey, can you ask your pendulum blah blah blah? And I saw that she hadn't read it yet. And then I was like, you know what? Let me stop being ridiculous. And I unsent it. A few minutes later, she sends a message. She's like, I saw what you sent before. She's like, why did you unsend? I was like, because I unsent it because if I don't have an answer, I can pretend what the answer is.
No, girl, no.
She's just like,
Just no, girl. Just no.
but divine unions can be something so far removed from what spiritual teachings are. Annie says, I have a question. Do you think it's a programming to mislead us in our ascension that divine union only is possible in twin relationships, making us wait for that one? Absolutely, Annie. It's an intentional program that's been being run. It began in like the 70s, 80s, 1970s, 1980s, where they were aware of the impending changes. They were aware of the various waves of souls that were coming. They were aware of the way twins can amplify the trajectory of that human consciousness development, human awareness expansion. And what ended up happening was they did a preemptive move where they began disseminating information that was skewed. It was very much skewed. It's this thing that causes us to not just wait for that one, but to be so desperate to have that with someone that we would force another person to play that role for us, whether or not that's truly their place in our life.
But that's not to be confused with the genuine pureness of a divine union, correct? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. They're a truly divine union is one where both can grow in their sovereignty at their own time, at their own measure, with decisions that they make, and the other never enforces any type of preconceived ideas of how that person is supposed to be.
Mm.
Right. And
I,
you've heard me talk about, my personal beliefs in relationships where it's like, if at some point, my husband, who I am still very much in love with, and it's not just like, oh, he's all I know. We've been together for so long. Like, I don't know anything else. Like, no, I want to be here.
Mhm.
And it's this thing of if at any point he were to wake up one day and be like, I want to explore a life without you, I would be like, okay, I'm a little bit devastated, but okay, like, how can I facilitate that? There's not going to be this thing of, oh, now you abandoned me, you betrayed me. I'm going to lock you out of our bank account. I'm going to hire a private detective. You have to leave the house. Like, no, there's none of that. And I've shared this multiple times over the years where it's like, even if we weren't in a romantic relationship, we would still have a joint bank account. We would still most likely live together unless he decided, he wanted to live somewhere else, at which point it's like, sure, do you need help moving? It's kind of one of those things where in a divine union, hurting, having miscommunication, it doesn't suddenly negate all of the beautiful growth that you've encouraged in each other.
I like that. And it makes me think of something very important that I left out:
Mm.
maturity,
Yes.
emotional maturity. Because when you have that and all of those things that we discussed earlier, even if you miscommunicate, you can ask, check for understanding. Like, okay, when you said this, is this what you mean? This is what I heard. Is that what you meant? Instead of taking what you think somebody means and just having a whole passive aggressive internal meltdown, or an outright, overt explosive meltdown. It's like that maturity and that respect and that love and that genuine desire for the best for each other is just paramount.
Yeah, and I mean, don't get it twisted though, because I'm fully capable of all of that overt, covert, internal, external meltdown, burn the house down.
But not over anything petty, not over anything. It's not going to destroy the foundation of what you all have because it's a solid foundation, right?
Yes.
Because in a lot of relationships, miscommunication, even something petty, is enough to just blow the whole house of cards down.
I think a lot of that in modern relationships has to do with the way we've taken in this teaching that everything is disposable.
Yes, I was thinking the same thing. Our shirts reflect our thoughts on these things. Yes, yes, exactly. Disposable.
Yeah, and here's the thing, like, we all want someone to commit to us to that degree, but we don't want to risk committing to someone else in that way, because that's a massive, massive investment of our
Yeah,
entire existence,
yeah.
and we're trying to protect ourselves. And so Divine unions are ones where we reflect our inner truth. And if you are covering that mirror with some dense, dark fabric and nothing can shine through, you're not going to have that existing outside of your life.
Say that. Yes.
You're just, we have to be very aware of the ways in which we structure our lives. And if that structure is in alignment and in support of the types of events and connections we want to experience. In a divine union, it kind of serves as a lattice work for the most beautiful flowers to grow upwards and outwards.
Oh, that's beautiful. Girl, that is so beautiful. And I've been trying to hold this down, but so it seems like somebody keeps wanting to say something, and I'm trying so hard to block her.
Don't do it. Don't do it, girl. Don't do it. Here, you see my hand? Decide where it needs to squeeze. Don't do it.
I mean, even before we started talking about the discussion, girl. Okay.
You know what? Billy commented. Billy's going to say yes. Billy says, it took a long time to see the relationship with self as a divine one. The masculine and feminine parts of self is a good example. Working together, unified as one, growth amplifies.
I love that.
Absolutely.
I love that. And she mentioned that, and it's something because even looking at the topic, because I didn't know you were going to name it Divine Union. But even looking at the topic, I thought of this song, Love Has Found I by Janai. And it just talks about the beautiful marriage of the divine masculine, the sacred feminine, first within oneself and then between two. It's beautiful.
I know for my personal experience, I wasn't in a place of emotional and energetic maturity when my husband and I met. We were both fairly young, and I wouldn't say either of us were mature, but he possessed the capacity to exist in a way that encouraged and watered the roots of my growth.
That's beautiful.
Even when I couldn't grasp why I was worth that investment, why I was worth that effort. Because I'm accustomed to just pushing people away. The moment I, get any hint of like, oh, you might not want me around, I'm like, okay, bye. I'm out. Before you could get the opportunity to solidify this belief that I'm not enough. Like for me, that's kind of one of my trauma responses is I will just be gone. And with him, he was just so very aware of his rightful place in my life, right? Awareness. I was just like, why are you so cocky? Who are you? He was just mad,
No.
and he was set with like, he decided right when he met me, like, so I don't know.
Oh my goodness. All right. I am getting, I just feel these chills. And as you're speaking, it's like I'm actually looking at a chapter out of your book. It's beautiful. You got to do it. 2023, you got to do it, girl. You got to do it. I know that's not the purpose of us being here, but I think that is a part of it.
He has a chapter in my book already.
Yes. And those words seem like they belong in that chapter.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. I want to know too. I'm curious. I know that we kind of discussed. You asked me, what does a divine union look like to me, or something to that effect. But fam, I'm interested in what you all have to say too. What are some of the qualities, some of the attributes of a divine union in your perception? What are some things, like if you're in a divine union, what are some things that are characteristic of that divine union that you're in? If you're not, what are some of the, I'm not talking about within oneself, that's a beautiful thing, but with two people Also, if you're not and that's something you desire, what are some of those attributes that you desire out of a divine union? What are some of those characteristics and qualities? So, as they're hopefully letting us know, I would like to ask you something when you put your detox tea down.
Okay, I'm ready.
You can continue to drink. It's okay. Because you're drinking for me too. I don't have my water next to me. So, But I love how you mentioned, first of all, you've said several times that you and Frey are not twins.
Correct.
In addition to that, you have also said that the divine union that you have didn't start with a divine union within yourself to
Hmm.
that degree. And it makes me think of sometimes also, I mean, it's beautiful for us to have certain expectations because we don't deserve anything less once we have certain things and we don't give anything less than those things. But is there a thin line between knowing what we deserve and expecting perfection, even when we can't give that perfection, expecting things to be readily made the way that we want them? You talk about cultivation. What is that? Is there a thin line between those two things?
Absolutely.
Mm.
There's not just a thin line, there's a barbed wire fence.
Okay.
And when we try and remove that fencing that allows for the separation of the expectation and the reality, we tend to hurt ourselves and
Mm,
blame the fence. The fence is inert.
mm, mm,
It's not something that's existing. It's what we do to that fence, with that material, that
mhm,
makes it something just very, very questionable for us in our perception.
mm.
So a lot of times people will have an expectation of what they believe they deserve, but do they actually feel that?
Oh, I love
Thinking it
it.
and being it are two different things,
Hmm.
right?
Yes.
Thinking it and feeling it to your core are two different things.
Mhm.
So there's always been this part of me that has known to my core there is a certain level of standard I will not dip beneath. I've
Mhm.
never had a boyfriend call me outside of my name.
Mhm.
I've never had a boyfriend be mad disrespectful to me, be aggressive with me, or any of that.
Mhm.
Because every single person that I have chosen to develop some type of opportunity to deepen a connection with, there is this unspoken awareness.
Mhm.
She will not tolerate anything less than blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? And I think for many of us, especially women,
Mhm.
it's also true for men, but it's
Mm.
especially true for women. We have this belief that we deserve less than what we deserve, but we
Mm.
intellectualize our pain over that awareness. And so we try and convince ourselves I'm a boss babe. I deserve this. I deserve that. They have to have the same love language as me. They
Mm.
have to have the same spiritual practices as me. They have to this, they have to that. But in reality, it's like we don't really truly believe and hold ourselves to the standard of being worthy of that type of treatment,
Mhm.
you know?
Yes, I agree. And then even some of those things like they have to have the same love language. They have to have the same. Now, some things I would want for the same. Some things that are just completely important at a fundamental level. But even with love language, like, do you feel that some of us don't give any room for there to be any flexibility and any room for there to be even complementary? We want everything to be the same all the way through.
Yes.
And yeah, and how can that hinder our growth also?
It creates distortions in our perceptions and connections.
Mm,
So,
mm,
for example, I'm very masculine despite looking very feminine. I'm
mhm,
actually very masculine in the way I conduct myself. I have a very masculine love language,
mhm,
right? So, when my husband was working, he was the primary breadwinner for like 15 years, 17 or something like that. It's been a long time.
mhm,
He was
mhm,
the primary breadwinner. And there were several years where he was working at a specific company, and every Valentine's Day, I would go and get 2 dozen roses. I would create my own like floral arrangement. I would bake all of the different things that he loves. And I would package that all up, get a huge card, balloons, the whole thing that men are supposed to do. And then I wouldn't tell him that I was coming. I would come at some random time and I wouldn't tell him that I was there. I would bring it to the front desk to the secretary, and she would need to page him to come to the front. And he would come to the front and he would gather all of his goodies and have to walk
Oh,
it back to his desk. And all the women,
look.
yeah, with all of these things flying in the air behind him. All of
Oh,
these men in this company would be like, oh my God, I wish my husband would do that for me. I wish my boyfriend would do that to me. And the thing is, my husband doesn't have that love language with me because I don't receive love in that way. I don't want you to bring me cut flowers because that's going to, the flowers are going to die. You want to really touch me in a way that is my language. You buy me a big ass plant. Don't give me balloons. Like, give me some excuse to go ahead and remodel some part of the house. Take me to Home Depot to get more tools. Things like that. And that's how he loves me. Like, I don't have to tell him I need new shoes. He'll just be like, you know what? Get in the car. We got to go somewhere. Where are we going? He goes, you need new shoes.
Oh,
And that's the thing, is that we never had to speak each other's languages. It's almost like we were able to understand how different the other person is because we're polar opposites.
I love that. I love that. I love that. Guys, this is so beautiful. And it's something because I've had the privilege of being able to see how these two interact. And let me tell you something.
How we argue?
And first of all, I have to tell you this because I was thinking about a gift to give to you all. And I saw something that I could customize. And one is for Mr. and one is for Mrs. And I was thinking about Mr. Stubborn and Mrs. Stubborn. Y'all, and they have the nerve to call me stubborn. It's like, they're two of you, they're two of you. There's only one of me. But they are so beautiful, guys. Like, I'm telling you, it's not an act for the internet. It's not an act for cloud or anything like that. It's beautiful. And just to feel it, it's just a beautiful thing. It's reflected just in everything from the eldest to the youngest child to the pets even. It's just beautiful. And I'm very happy that you all have that. And I am happy that some of us that don't have that are open ourselves up to receive the divine union for whatever that looks like to us, right? I think it's very beautiful. And I saw Ayla Reen had something she said. She said, I haven't grasped enough of an understanding to even fathom what a divine union actually looks and feels like. Wow. But you're here. You are here and we're talking about it. And not only that, after this, we get even deeper. We get even deeper. So Emmie, not too long ago, you had a topic, girl. I don't know if people have been paying attention to your topics lately for your readings, but it's like a preparation to all the things we're talking about for self, for self and others. It's beautiful. Not too long ago, you had a topic, something to the effect of love is in the air and you're breathing it in. Can I ask you, without you throwing tomatoes at me, how that might relate to the topic of divine union and the feeling that is in the air? Because I can feel it. I can feel it.
There is this supercharging of the environments that we live in right now. And it's being charged with specific types of frequencies that help to align the different particles, the different components. And that creates the ability to facilitate connection with someone else. But if you're going to still continue to view divine unions as, how social media depicts it, you're going to end up looking for someone that's going to hurt you so badly.
Wow.
So, okay, you've witnessed Frey and I. We're in a divine union. We're not twin flames. We're not twin rays. You've witnessed us. I remember a distinct car ride. There was a car ride where I was like, girl, listen to this, you know? And we were talking, Frey and I, we were talking about, we were sharing with you how spoiled he was as a child. And
Oh, yes.
remember that? And
I
I
will
was like,
never forget that topic because I'm like, wow.
yeah,
He just spoiled. He
yeah.
he
And
was
I was like, I'm his karma. I will beat him with a stick if I was his mom. I
oh
would beat
my
him
gosh.
silly, beat the spoiledness out of him. But that, it was this thing of it, in the beginning of the relationship. Um, his spoiled nature was very apparent to me, and I'm not spoiled at all.
Mhm.
I've been forced to be very independent, very much on my own for pretty much my whole life. And seeing this from a grown man, like it created a lot of resentment in me.
Mm.
Like, this is ugly and blah blah blah. And then I realized it wasn't that it was ugly. It's that I was jealous that he was loved in a way that I wanted to be loved.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah. And so that was kind of the start of me realizing this man is going to show me a different way to be
Mm,
without even trying, just with the way he exists.
mm,
He's going to show me a different way to be.
mm.
I might fight it for a few years,
Mhm, I can only imagine.
but um I've never experienced that with anyone else,
Mm,
where it's this thing of knowing that the differences we have are differences that we will always choose to overcome together.
mhm.
And in that process of choosing to overcome it, we're not falling deeper in love, we're growing in love.
I love that. That's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. Oh, that is beautiful. And sometimes differences can really grow us, right? I
Yes.
don't think we have to be so afraid of differences if they don't interrupt what is really important to us on a fundamental level. And as you were speaking about you and Freya, I also thought about this beautiful couple. Baba, I don't know if you're watching, but hi, we love you. You called me the other day and I wasn't feeling well, but I've got my voice back. I'm feeling so much better. Had some energy work. I'm good. So I just want to say that, oh my gosh, speaking of divine union, oh, Emmy, Baba and Mama Gilmore, like these two.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, like peas in a pod, like you don't get one without the other. But it was so beautiful to witness. And divine unions, they don't just touch one person or two people. Divine unions have a way of touching people within the family, people extended family, generations that have yet to be born. They're beautiful. They're
Yeah.
beautiful. So I want to give you all a shout out. That is so beautiful. And thank you all for just loving me. And you know what? Somebody else really loves you all too. And she's right there. So we thank you so much for that. Um, Somebody made a comment. Let's see, I think it's Firefly. Oh, this is beautiful. Firefly says about divine unions, how they may look. She said it's like being multilingual, understanding your own and another's language. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And even thinking about understanding someone else's language, let's think about two people, right? Two people who come from completely different cultural backgrounds, even completely different continents, right? And they speak different languages. You don't learn to speak someone else's language without having some effort. You have to have some effort. But then there's also the option to have all these differences and not try to learn to speak the other's language. It's like, no, you know, you should speak my language.
Hmm.
And if you don't speak my language, then that means, hey, you must not want me much enough, enough. You must not want this enough. But is that really love? Is that really love? Is that divine? What is that? That's selfishness. What else is that?
Ownership,
Ownership.
codependency.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Divine union is something that transcends the human's capacity to understand and premeditate.
Mm-hmm.
Divine union is something where the souls are in agreement, they are in alignment, and they will continue to orbit around each other for as long as they are meant to orbit around each other.
Mm-hmm.
um, for many of us, we misunderstand and we think we can apply spiritual subjects, spiritual concepts, teachings to our regular human connections and not need to put soul based effort, soul based connection into that equation. And then we wonder why it fails. We wonder why it falters. It's because you're trying to turn apples into oranges and apples into oranges,
Mm-hmm. Mm-mm.
and you can't. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. This is the beauty of soul. You
Mm-hmm.
can have apples and oranges and bananas and kiwis, and you can turn that into fruit punch, and it's still amazing.
It is amazing. I was thinking about fruit salad because even the fruit salad is so good, girl. It's so good. But I love juice too. I love it.
And that's the thing. It depends on what component of those ingredients you want. This directly applies to love. There's no
Mm,
right or wrong way to consume the fruit,
mm,
right? You can consume it as a fruit salad, you can consume it as a juice,
mhm.
and it's still equally as nutritious.
Yes, yes,
So nutritious love is nutritious love regardless of the way it's served.
exactly.
We're going to be like, I have rickets and it has to be a juice, not a salad, because I don't want a salad. Well, and all they have is a salad. You're not going to cure your rickets. You're,
Yes,
because
yes,
you're not taking in what you need.
yes. I love that. I love that. So, any questions for me? Because, I was about to ask you another question, but any questions for me?
Um, do you believe in divine union?
I do.
Do you believe that everyone has at least one opportunity in this lifetime to be in a long lasting divine union?
I want to say I do, but some people are really shitty, So outside of that, yes, I do.
So I guess what you're saying is you believe that we are all capable of having at least one if we allow ourselves to reach the levels of maturity to recognize when one is before us.
Absolutely. You stated that as, even better than I would have thought to state it. Yes, that's exactly what I believe. Yes.
Awesome. I'm going to be putting some comments up on the screen. I think these are some
Thank you,
profound.
Stan. Yes.
Annie says, coming from a relationship with a twin, I've realized that divine union is within oneself. For a long time, I thought it was a union to be made with the other person. I think in the twin unions, it becomes a divine union when your counterpart can encourage, support, and protect you in the process of reunifying with yourself.
Mm, yes.
I've been very, very lucky in this life because not only am I married to a man who is, a beautiful life partner in equal in every sense of the word. I've also had the honor of, coming. Oh, Marlene's gonna cry.
Uh-oh. I'm trying to block her out this whole time. I'm sorry, Marlene. I just, why I'm trying to block you out, but okay. I
I was
don't.
gonna say, I've been very lucky because I've come across my twin Ray, who has been able to inspire that reconnection within myself.
Oh, wow.
That's what the awareness of his existence did for me, to unify my masculine and feminine aspects,
Mm,
even in that absence. Like it didn't need to be an in-person in real life, day to day communication type thing.
Mhm.
The awareness of his existence and witnessing the way he functions in his environment, even for the very, very short period that we were in contact, it really triggered an entire process within myself.
Mm.
And that's why I feel like I'm just so lucky because I'm paired with someone to spend my human life with that helps me to grow in all of my human ways. And I've also had the honor of having connected on a soul level with a soul
Mm.
that's helped me to reunify my parts on a soul level.
Wow.
Divine union is so many different layers and levels of
Beautiful.
existence and love.
Beautiful.
Right?
So beautiful. And some people might be new and they may not be used to you really talking about yourself and Frey or yourself and your twin Ray. Are they the same people?
No,
No. Well,
no,
you didn't cheat. You
no.
didn't cheat. That's not what happened. Can you give a little more? Do you want to give a little more information? Oh, good. She gonna throw them tomatoes at me. Oh my goodness.
Girl, I'm gonna throw the whole laptop at the wall.
I take it out of there, girl. Look.
I'm joking. What would you like to know?
Thank you. I would like to. I would like to help people who may not quite be making the connection understand what you're saying, what you just said.
Mhm.
So if I were, I'm gonna bump it up, not fifth grader. If I were 15, how would you explain that to me?
That some people come into your life to bring you a love that you feel on a human level. And then there are some very rare people who have the opportunity to come into your life to remind you love on a soul level. And that soul level love is something that can be felt as, a parent and child love. It could be a best friend love. It could be, a family love. It could be romantic love as well. But it's not always just one thing. Oftentimes, that type of love is something that's so profound and encompasses every type of human connection you could have possibly ever had.
Mm, beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful.
So, um, divine unions between twins are very difficult because you have to remember you've lived more than just one lifetime together.
Mm,
You've had more than just one type of connection.
mm,
There's been lifetimes where you've been parent and child, siblings, cousins, best friends, enemies, all of these different relationships that you've had. And that gets very muddled very quickly.
mm. Wow. So it just made me, because I'm going to ask about your products and services later. Please don't let me forget because that's very important. But it just made me think of something. If two people feel that they may have a past together and they are in a divine union, what would be some of the benefits and possible disadvantages of them getting a twin reading from you together? And not twin reading. I don't know. Past life reading probably is the better. Yeah.
Those are often extremely viscerally
Mm.
experienced.
Wow. Wow.
Mm. It's not uncommon, even for the most machoist man, to experience that type of reading, and he's left sobbing.
Mm.
Yeah.
Wow. And I wonder the sobbing, do you think it comes from not only the information that he's hearing or she's hearing, but also like the connecting of parts and of events like that makes so much sense. That's why I've always felt like this, or that's why when this happens, I feel like that. Yes.
Absolutely. You have to understand that when I do past life readings, retrievals during public expedites, I'm confining myself to be the only one really that's experiencing reliving that situation. Right? When I do past life readings, I am not watching a movie. I am there in the body with the person and experiencing it firsthand right along with them.
Mm,
Now,
mm,
in a past life reading, it's not uncommon. It's not always, but it's not uncommon for that person to somehow be triggered and pulled back into that circumstance. And
Mm,
they are reliving that right along with me.
wow.
So, it can be something that's very intense. It can be something that um, people really need to experience to understand why they are so drawn to the person they're drawn to.
That's deep. Now, if they're not in a relationship, but let's say they're friends or even family members, but they just feel like there's something that's really significant about a past they may have shared together. Is that common for you to get people to come in that are not even in a relationship or that may even be family members to try to make sense of what could possibly be the antecedent of some of the things in this lifetime? Okay.
Yeah, no, that's not unheard of either. A lot of us, we have connections with people in our families that extend before this life,
Mhm.
before we incarnate. Like one of my earliest memories, my earliest akashic recollections, I guess you could say, was just I was a toddler and I had just a very clear understanding. Part of the reason I chose a family that I was born into in this lifetime was because my really deeply loved soul friend was going to be born into this family and I needed to help him.
Mm, wow.
So, yeah, and of course there were a few years where I was like, you freaking idiota, why you pick this family? We could have picked something else. Wait, I'm not letting you pick next time. You pick your
Hilarious.
own next time. It's this thing, like I just have such a deep awareness. This is why I chose this family, and I needed to be able to have lifelong proximity, because of the difficulties that they would need to overcome. And so I needed to be a sibling, not just any
Mm,
sibling, but the baby, the only girl.
wow.
Right? And so, because of his age, my sibling, because of his age when I was born, I'm literally like his baby. And I'm also like his mom,
Yes.
you know?
That's
So,
beautiful.
yeah, I'm literally, I'm like the only person he will listen to. I remember, gosh, he's gonna be so mad at me that I'm sharing this. Years ago, when he was married, he was gonna go to a bar, and he had intentions of getting to a bar fight.
Mhm.
He knew this one guy that he did not like was gonna be there, and he's like, he's gonna go. And mind you, his wrist was broken still. He was in a cast, and his wife was like, "Why are you gonna go? Your wrist is broken."
Your brother is my brother. That's all I can
And
say.
he was like, "No, get out of the way," and he's gonna go. And you know what stopped him from going was she got so mad. She's like, "I'm calling your sister." And he's
Oh.
like, "Wow, why would you do that?" And next thing you know, they're calling me, and she's like, "You need to talk to your brother. He won't listen. He's going to a bar to get in a fight." I was like, "What?"
Yes,
And
yes.
I don't tell him what to do either. I'm just like,
Mhm.
"That's dumb. Isn't your
But
brother
he still
calling
makes sense
you?"
to you. But you're the one. And
Yes.
I get it. I get it. Because I'm also my brother's baby sister, but also like his mom too. And he get to a certain level, he's not gonna listen to nobody but me. And we
Yes.
can get into it all day long, but nobody better mess with the other.
No.
Like y'all. That's
Yeah.
beautiful though. But you have this awareness from the toddler age. That's
I would
interesting.
say maybe like 4 years old.
Wow.
Remember where we were living, and I was about 3.5, 4 years old when we moved there.
Wow. Now, when I was about that age, I remember, I don't know, around that age or so, maybe a little younger, feeling like I dropped onto Earth out of some spaceship or something. Like, I'm so serious. I felt like that. And I even felt like, I was moving my body like, wow, they gave me this. Like, they gave me this. Oh, this is pretty cool. Like, okay, I can get around in this. I can do this. But
One
I
of
thought about the reason I was born into the family, like from that age. I never thought things like that. I knew I'd been here before, but that's interesting to have.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've had that type of, because these are people that I have a very divine connection with. The person who was my best friend for quite a few years, and she's like the godmother to all my kids.
Mhm.
Just one day I was driving down the freeway, and all of a sudden the whole freeway disappeared. I'm so lucky I didn't get in an accident. The whole freeway disappeared, and then I had a basket,
Mm.
like a wicker basket with straps on it that was attached to me, and I was picking cotton. And I was
Mm.
like, what is this? Because I was
Mhm.
driving.
Mhm.
And suddenly it was flash forwarded and it was another lifetime, same location.
Mm.
And this time I'm inside the house. I
Mm.
was her house slave.
Wow. Wow. That's
Yeah.
deep.
Yeah, she was the daughter of the plantation owner. And and then suddenly I was back in the car and it was this thing of I remember just a few weeks earlier, she was telling me she loves the 3/4 sleeves with the lace at the end. And I was like, that's ugly. Don't wear shit like that, girl. And she loves it.
Word.
I'm like, we trying to be thuggish ruggish. Like, why you 3/4 sleeve with no, that's ugly. Don't do that. But yeah, and that's how I knew like we had quite a bit of karmic um experiences that we needed to have, and we were super close for a long time,
Mm.
a long time. And
Mm.
when that karmic load finally was depleted, our friendship just kind of fizzled. It grew apart. But there at no point did I betray her or she betrayed me. It was just kind of it grew apart.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Now, out of curiosity, about how many divine unions would you say are those unions that consist of people who have had past life history?
You're not going to come across someone in your life in this lifetime that you haven't had a history with.
That's deep.
Yeah. Every single person, even a person you wave at across the street who's a complete stranger, you've
Wow,
had some type of history with them.
that's deep. And you answered my question too because I was wondering about even random people, you know?
Yeah, even random people. So here, okay, I'll give you some mind-bending divine union stuff.
Your screen is changing, by the way.
Now you know, right? This is going to be intense.
Mhm.
So it became clear to me that my husband and I have had these cycles of
Mhm.
being in love through many lifetimes, but never being able to be in an actual relationship,
Wow.
never having been able to get married, never having been able to have children, none of that.
Mhm.
So it's this thing of I've been in relationships with my twin Ray, and I end up falling in love with my husband in this life.
Mhm.
And then my husband in those previous lives, my twin Ray, would
Mhm.
go and murder my future lover.
Mm.
So after a certain point that created and that adds to my disdain of like twin stuff, like this
Mhm.
motherfucker, I've had enough of his let me have this life. Let me be. you know and that's the thing is that I think that's why the moment I saw Frey for the first time I was just like, who's that?
Mm.
Because there was a resonance, there was some type of something that
Mm.
I noticed and I didn't know how to quantify it.
Mm.
But
Oh.
yeah, I mean, he has been part of my lifetimes. I
Mhm.
think for almost every lifetime for as long as I've been incarnating. Since
Wow.
the earliest lifetime I remember with him in it was the
Mm.
lifetime when I was an empress.
Wow.
So it extends very far back, very,
Wow.
very, very far back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Wow. That's deep.
yeah. Very Marley.
Hey, I'm just wondering, like, okay. Well, comments. We have some more comments, right? Let's see. What is the fam saying? All right.
A lot of good stuff here.
Yeah.
Lisa says, I don't think I've been in a divine union yet. I think all my relationships so far have been preparing me for one. After all, we have to love ourselves first. You
Mm.
do. You do. And for some, we learn how to love ourselves because we are being properly loved by someone in a healthy way.
Mm.
It's hard for us to love ourselves first when we don't have any experiences with healthy love, healthy self reflection, healthy perception of ourselves, who we are, our purpose.
Mm.
So if you don't know how to love yourself, um, you might be one of the ones that it's part of your soul's plan to allow someone to come forward and show you the type of love you deserve.
Mm,
Because I didn't know about healthy love until I met my husband,
mm.
right? He helped to teach me about healthy love by simply loving me wholeheartedly with no conditions.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Billy says, honoring free will, sovereignty, day in and day out, loving in a way you love creation, alignment towards growth in simple terms. That's exactly what a divine union is.
Mm,
It doesn't matter the type of label you could place on that connection. It doesn't have to be a twin flame. It doesn't have to be a twin ray. It doesn't have to be any type of label. It could be someone that you just very deeply are drawn to. Elizabeth says codependent or divine union, on off for 5 years, triggering, blocking, unblocking, but we keep getting back together. That sounds karmic to me.
mm,
That
mm.
sounds very karmic.
You think a past life reading would be beneficial to you help with some clarity on those dynamics?
Yeah. Yeah. Oftentimes when we have a karmic type of connection that we're mistaking for a divine union, knowing the root causations of those different cycles will help you to exit out of it. A lot of people think that just because you have a some type of memory of living a life with someone previously, that this is the love of your life and now this is your chance. Like, no, I have a lot of people who have past lives with me who have tried to kill me in those
Mm,
lives,
mm.
right? That's like, mm-mm. We
Yeah.
have to exit out of those teachings that enable people's access to us when they are so very toxic for
Mm,
us,
mm.
right?
Great.
So the question here is, and it's a general question, if you are in a relationship where you block each other, you unblock each other, and this has been going on for 5 years, you've broken up maybe 8 times, right? Maybe twice a year you break up. At which point will you accept that this is not something that's going to work because neither of you are willing to take accountability for the reasons why it hasn't worked?
Mm. I'm Venus cat girl. You asking everybody except me and you. We Venus
I'm just like, didn't work first time. Okay, carrying on. See yourself
right.
anywhere, please. The exit sign's above the door.
Yeah, you know? That's nice because nobody pushes you out the window. Go ahead and take that door. Be grateful.
Right? Elevator doesn't work, please take the stairs.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that's just one of the things, and obviously I'm not addressing anyone's, personal
Right.
circumstance.
Right.
It's
Right.
just something to think about. You know what I mean? If it keeps off and on, there is something fundamentally not working with that. And if you're both not willing to see what is the fundamental issue, it will never work. My
Mhm.
husband and I have never broken up in 24 years.
Mm.
Why? Because there's not a fundamental issue. There's bickering, yes. There's disagreements, yes. There's me threatening to beat him with his keys because he was a spoiled child. I'm
Me too.
joking. I'm not gonna beat him
He
with.
spoils her, guys. Let's not make any mistake about it. He was a very spoiled kid, but she's spoiled by him.
I am.
He spoils them too, like as they should, right?
Yeah. So it's not just me being the enforcer and the teacher. There is this mutual reciprocal love, right? There is this mutual reciprocated desire to work through all circumstance.
Mm,
So unless it's reciprocated, I don't know how that's going to work. You're not going to just hang on long enough and suddenly the person will realize,
yeah, yeah.
because the longer something distorted and toxic is allowed to infuse into a connection, the harder it becomes to correct that, because then it becomes part of the pillar of the foundation of that
Mm,
relationship.
that's deep, and that unwillingness to let go, just because there are problems. not anything that is a threat to the fundamental integrity. But there is a difference between that and this codependent paradigm that, hey, if you hear me, you will never need me. You know, if you hear me, you matter what I do, you better be here for me because you hear me and you never leave. Right? It's completely
Yeah.
different from the emotional manipulation, the blame game type, guilt trap type thing that, hey, loving me means never leaving my side. If you love me, that means you'll always be with me. I can cheat, I can disrespect you, but hey, you say you love me, so we're gonna be together forever. That's that's not the divine union, guys. That ain't it, soul fam. That ain't it.
The concept of ride or die, that's not a divine union.
Yeah, that. Mm-mm.
Yeah. Have you heard of Chris Ann and what, Blueface? Is that his name? Chris Ann and Blueface.
I saw some Blueface thing not too long ago, but I didn't look into it. What is that?
Girl, it's nothing you need to waste your time on. But for those of you, for those of you that do know, y'all know how you look at Chris Ann, okay? Don't be the Chris Ann. I'm telling you.
Wow.
Do not be the Chris Ann of that situation. And
Wow.
don't be the Blueface either.
Okay.
It's a very toxic relationship. I don't know too much about it, but one day I saw this thing where a very pretty girl, and she had a missing front tooth.
Mm.
Which just, I mean, that in itself is not an issue. The issue was that she got a dental implant for that missing front tooth, and he suddenly became insecure.
Mm.
And he's like, "What'd you do that for? Like what? Why'd you get that tooth?" And to prove her love, she pulled out the dental implant.
That's a perfect example. Oh, that's a perfect example. Wow.
I
Wow.
was like,
Yeah. Like,
no.
and then how did he feel after that? Was he like, yeah, she loved me?
I don't know. I stopped the video. I was like, "This some bullshit.
Oh my
That's not cheap." Dental, and they're not meant to come out. They're embedded in your skull. Y'all don't be that. Don't
God.
be that. If you have to prove your love to someone by being something outside of who you are, by harming yourself, that's not love.
Mm-mm.
It's not love.
Mm-mm.
A. Lorene says, "That's the thing. I love to see
Mm.
others flourishing in love. It's always so amazing to witness. I've grown content with living vicariously in that realm." Maybe you're not living vicariously in that realm. Maybe you are observing, much like an acolyte or an apprentice.
Mm.
You are observing with first row seats so that when it's your time, you will have enough observational experience to be able to begin cultivating what you know you want and deserve.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful.
We also have Louise. Hello, Miss Sexy. I know this isn't the most elevated opinion on divine unions, but I think that if people quit their own individual BS accountability, that maybe they would find less BSC situations. Absolutely. That is a very elevated opinion. That's a
Mhm.
very real, very raw opinion.
Yes.
It's something that most people, they're too afraid of the accountability they would need to have for themselves to even begin to process what it is you're communicating.
Mm.
You
Do you
know?
think that the lack of accountability erodes the trust and sense of security in something that could be beautiful?
Yes, absolutely.
Mm.
Absolutely. I'm totally the kind of partner where if I continuously see you not holding yourself accountable,
Mm.
that's a deal breaker.
Mhm.
That's a
Mhm.
deal breaker for me because
Mhm.
then my mind starts to overthink, and it's like, if you can't hold yourself accountable for not washing your dishes, what
Mhm.
else are you not holding yourself accountable for? So
Mm.
maybe you're cheating, and now you don't think it's cheating because what? I didn't give you the time of day yesterday because I was working 18 hours. I don't
Mm.
think so. I'm good.
Mm.
I'm good
Mm.
with that. Yeah.
Mm. Mm.
So lack of accountability is the number one killer of relationships.
Mm. Wow. Deep.
It is. I can absolutely tolerate a life partner's shortcomings if they can, without me telling them what it is, recognize their shortcomings
Mhm.
and allow me to witness their effort to correct that shortcoming.
Yeah, I can respect that. I think one thing that I could never respect is dishonesty.
Mm,
And then once someone knows, like making no effort, no,
mhm.
I can't. Like dishonesty is already that's out the door. But then if somebody, I mean, we all have things that nobody's perfect, so we all have flaws. We all have things that are not that the other person may not like so much, whatever. But if you know how that makes the person you're with feel, and it's nothing that is going to be an issue for you personally, it's not like they're disrespecting your essence by saying, okay, you know what, this is inconsistent. I see a pattern of inconsistency, or, whatever it is. It's like if you're not willing to work on that and improve that, what can the person do with that? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do um, to grow a plant that has no roots. Does that
Mm,
make sense?
it
The
does.
lack of accountability is a shallow existence. There's no depth, there's no roots.
Yeah.
So one small breeze can knock that over.
I agree. I agree. Yep.
And I'm not down for that. I am all, you already know I'm all about efficiency.
Yes.
And if I deem it a waste of my time, I'm not participating. It's just
Yeah, she's efficiency to the max. Cost benefit analysis to the max. You know what? Right.
oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing is that um we can't be all or nothing,
Yeah,
right?
it's true. It's true.
But at the same time, if you're choosing to pick the thing that has no future to it,
Hmm.
you're still picking the nothing,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. And then what about this? When we see, and sometimes these are lifelong habits a person has had before they've even entered the relationship, but the potential, you're both wanting to work towards cultivating it so it can reach the potential that you both want it to reach. What about holding something over one's head? Like when, okay, we've talked about this, we've discussed this, but then a person continues to talk about it. I'm not talking about cheating. That's different. Hey, if y'all want to deal with that, if it still hurts you, want to talk that's completely different. But something that's not disrespectful or anything like that. It's just something that you all talked about, and the person is supposed to be correcting it, or you're supposed to be correcting it, and you're like, there's supposed to be that chance. First of all, the opportunity to make those changes. How does it work when that chance is not really given? Like the conversation is there, but the person just wants to say, well, I don't think you're going to do this or do that because you've always done this or that. Does that also tie into emotional maturity or lack thereof?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because what you're doing is you're setting the person up for failure before they even have the opportunity.
Mm, mm,
I'm totally and I can be a very difficult person to be in a relationship with in that type of circumstance where I am seeking a resolution to something, and that resolution involves you making modifications by your own free will, making modifications to certain behavioral patterns that you're accustomed to. I'm not going to be like, oh, I this and I that. I'm going to be like,
yeah. Okay. Okay.
while I pack all my stuff, like, don't be following me either. I'm watching you, buddy. like, show me. If I don't
So
see what I need to see by the time I reach the door, good riddance.
yeah, I can,
You know,
yeah, that's to be respected though. That's to be respected.
my
Yeah.
thing is, it's not love to force someone to change.
Mm-mm, mm-mm. And it's not sovereignty either, right?
No,
Yeah.
no,
Yes.
it's this thing. I've always had this belief and this is what I base my relationships on, so long as it's in alignment and we are both growing in the ways we need to grow, myself included,
Mm-hmm.
it's something that we can always work through. But
Mm-hmm.
the moment I begin to notice that I'm either forcing you to grow in ways that's not natural to you, or you are refusing to grow in ways that is necessary, the
Mm-hmm.
alignment is done
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's time to move forward.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
not one to hold on with bloody fingernails.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just one of those things where, okay, this was good while it lasted, and now it's done. And now
Mm-hmm.
it's time for us to be honest with each other and really just what's the next step,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And it's not to say I haven't had that type of conversation with my husband at some point in our marriage,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we have a very real marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been times where there's been conversations of, listen, this is not working.
Mm-hmm.
Your actions are showing me that you are unhappy and you're not communicating what you're unhappy about. And if there's no communication and there's no alignment, what exactly are we doing here?
Mm. Communication. So you talked about the lack of accountability being like a top killer. What do you think about the lack of communication in a relationship?
Those are the power tools to
Mm,
kill the relationship,
mm, mm,
right?
mm.
So any serial killer has their favorite tools. I think lack of communication would be um, lack of accountability's tools that are,
Oh, that's deep.
yeah.
Bars. She got bars, y'all.
Like in those times, it's not very often that we have those types of conversations, but in those times where we have, um, my husband will tell me, like, what are you talking about? I'm not happy. Like, no, you're having all of these attitudes because he's a Gemini. Right?
Yeah, right?
Okay. And he'll have these periods where it's like he's just like attitudey with everyone. I'm like, what's your issue?
Mm,
Are you not happy? And then
mm,
he'll be like, who said I'm not happy? Your attitude said that.
mm,
And it's this thing of, no, he's not even aware that his behavior is being received in that way.
mm,
So
mm,
sometimes it's this thing of you're identifying a situation as an issue, but
mhm.
it's not even an issue for the other person. And if
Deep.
it's not communicated, because I'll only take maybe like a week of that before I'm like, listen, mofo, what's really going on?
Mhm,
I'm sick of
mhm.
your caca. I'm sick of this. This is caca. I'm sick of this. And he'll be like, what are you talking about? And not denying it, but he genuinely is like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, not trying to deflect or, any attempts of triangulation, but trying to actually communicate, trying to ask you, seek clarity, like, what are you talking about? And you're asking him, like, okay, well, what's going on? But it's not the thing of you see or feel a certain thing and you feel a certain way about it. You're not saying anything and it's continuing and you never even brought it up. But you brought it up. And then once you brought it up, it's not a thing of him acting like, what are you talking about? He's actually trying to communicate. I like the communication piece. It's very important. Yes.
And you factor in the fact that he's a Gemini. Gemini is be moody AF. They don't even realize they toss an attitude, talking caca. He doesn't talk caca to me, but I take it personally when he talks caca about strangers that are walking down the street. I'm Pisces.
Y'all with me, right? I stay at a couple stuff, y'all. I stay at for this part, I'm gonna do like this. I stay at a married people stuff.
He needs to get a partition for the car. So if you're in there, in the back seat, she'd be like, back
Like,
seat.
you know what? I'm gonna just make that drive. I love y'all. It's one of those days, It's never been that though.
I think one of these days you're just gonna be like, could you guys please stop the car for a moment? Like, for what? We're on the freeway. I'm just gonna walk home.
Right?
You guys can continue without me interrupting. Because y'all
Oh,
don't get it wrong. It might seem like my husband is a pushover. He's not a pushover. He is not a pushover. He will legit be like, "What are you talking about?" And then I'm like, "Oh, why you say that to me like
That's funny. These two.
that?" But that's the thing though. There's communication.
Yes.
So if you're the type of person where you're very sensitive to the tones the word selection, and you're with someone who has complete oblivious types of perceptions about their tones, that's not going to work if there's no communication.
And when you say sensitive, tell us what you mean by that, because some people may be thinking, oh, just emotional basket case, everything, just everything type sensitive. But what do you mean by that?
We read people based on the mood we are in. And if you are highly empathic and you have been dealing with or surrounded by people who are emotionally destabilized, you're not aware. You're taking in that distortion. Everything after that point, you will receive in a distorted manner.
That's
Right?
deep. That's deep.
So that's what I mean about being sensitive.
Yeah, that's deep. Because highly empathic people a lot of times can feel the energy of a room, even if they haven't been in that place. They are walking in, let's say an argument happened, they can walk in and feel the tension a lot of times. And when they're in a relationship, it's like they can feel even the slightest shifts in someone's energy. They can feel and look between the lines and kind of read between the lines of what's being said, what's not said. They can feel all that. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's important.
So some of the times where it's like, my husband runs the back end of all our business stuff, right? So not only does he have to deal, sometimes people will get frustrated because maybe they need a different time for their session, or maybe they wanted something sooner and my schedule's crazy, and he's needing to remain neutral, and he's very good about being like, well, I would be disappointed too. That's a long time to wait. And so he doesn't take it personal. But then he goes and brings packages to, to UPS, and there was someone there that was giving him attitude and he was trying to chill. So he's processing that. And he gets home and I'm like, hey, do you want to go out to lunch? And be like, I don't got time. Oh, for me, I'm like, motherfucker, who are you talking to like that?
You also,
Who the hell? Is someone else in the room here? How sick are you? Like, I just asked if we could go to lunch. You want to starve? I'm telling you, I'm a little bit difficult to be with. But that's the thing, though. I don't know what he's been through as he's working on his part of today's work, and I'm working on my part of today's work. And we have that moment where we come together and it's just a simple conversation. But I picked up on all of that irritation, all of that sense of inconvenience. Now I'm wondering, are you saying I'm inconvenient?
That's important to keep in mind. That is very important, especially guys. I know a lot of people in here are empathic, and there may be some people that are not quite as empathic, but that is especially important to keep in mind when you're in a relationship with an empath. Like, that is so important. And then what about when they're two empaths? And because you and Frey are both empaths.
Yeah.
So
He's very empathic too. He tries to pretend like he's not. No, it is fool. It cracks me up. I know what you're doing. I know you're reading me. I know what you. One time I will say this. This is how I knew this is like the most divine union I've ever been in, and I will ever be in. We were arguing one time. He made me so mad, and he was driving. He looks at me. He goes, "You have 2M."
oh yeah. No. I gotta mute because I gotta cough.
For y'all that don't know, 2M is like worst case scenario, parasitic demonic possession. He said I had a demon inside me. He said I got 2M.
And the funny part, y'all, like she said before, Emmie is the one who's into all the energetic stuff on a deeper level. Frey is very empathic and read energy and all that stuff, but Frey is not, that's not his world like that. So for Frey to tell Emmie that she had 2M, it's hilarious to me.
Girl, he tried to cut me down, tell me I got 2M. I was like, I'm wrecking your car. I ripped off the rear view mirror. Like, I will beat you with it. Oh my god, he was cracking up. I thought it was hilarious because
Me
at that
too. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That's hilarious. That is hilarious.
I don't think he knew what it meant. I was like, "You're an organic portal."
Oh my God.
So mad, you freaking organic portal.
I cannot with these two.
We can laugh about it now. It wasn't too funny when it was happening.
I could be right.
Luckily, it was just me and him. That would have traumatized children.
Wow, I'm so glad. You too. Let's see.
Ooh, this right here, that's what made me panic, especially when I felt the foundation going into a slip.
Mm, mm,
I find that, even if it's a divine union, when we go into panic mode, we have a tendency to really just completely obliterate whatever divinity was in that union,
that's deep.
right?
Mm,
That's a hard thing. That's definitely a very hard thing when we go into panic mode.
mm,
Um, let's see. Finding common ground and nurturing relationships requires accountability.
mm, mm.
That's powerful.
It is. It is.
And Annie says, I am codependent. So for me, my inner divine union is imperative. It's easy to look outside of myself for validation. The twin
Mm,
union is real, it was not possible for me because I was not choosing myself.
wow.
That's a very powerful realization because even if it's a twin union, if you don't choose yourself, if that's truly your twin, they won't choose you either.
That's deep.
That's
That's
a depth of connectivity between twins.
whoa.
There's a reciprocity and reciprocal reflectivity.
Reciprocal reflectivity. Like 1221.
Hmm. Yeah.
Interesting.
But see, that's the thing. 1221, when you face it, it's a perfect mirror. But when they're side by side, they appear opposite,
That's deep.
right? Because it's 1 2, and then it's 2 1, and it's like we're not the same. But in reality, when you face each
Oh, girl, girl. And didn't you just have a portal event? Didn't
other.
you just? Okay, you know what? I'm done.
1221 is supposed to be for some people that is the great convergence between mirrored souls.
Whoa.
1221, because it becomes a 3 3, right? And the 3 3, when they stand side by side, that's an elevation, that's a mastery of what lessons you've been presented during this lifetime.
Oh my gosh. Is that why you have 3 3 for Kokoro 33?
Mhm. I'm a life path 33.
Deep. I'm
You know who told me that?
Ooh.
My twin Ray.
Wow. Wow. That's deep.
Because his life path is a 33 as well.
Wow. Deep.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's cute. Anyways, so what do you want? Could
Hilarious.
you imagine being in a union with me, of all people?
No. 'Cause I couldn't imagine being in a union with me. I'm not that bad. We're not that bad. No, we're beautiful to be in a union with. It's no.
We
but,
challenge you in the best way.
but the person has to be that rare.
Yes.
Because to really understand, appreciate, and reciprocate something that rare, you have to be that rare. You don't have to be identical, but you have to be that rare.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Just as magical as I believe myself to be, my husband is equally as rare.
Mm-hmm.
I know I will never come across another person like him who has the capacity to love me in my totality with no shaming me, no trying to force specific things to be pushed forward or pushed back. Like that's rare.
Mm,
That's very, very rare.
indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed. Gabe said something. I'm sorry, were you going to say something?
Lisa says, Like, I know my mom loved me, but I was never taught, told, or encouraged to love myself. I think it's generational. She wasn't taught either. So
Mm,
people trying to fill that. Absolutely.
mm, mm.
That's how we get into the, the difficulty of the concept of divine unions, you know? Ooh, Annie says, and all the time I was wondering, why is he not choosing himself in sobriety, failing to realize that I was not choosing me?
Whoa,
And
that's
see,
really
his drug of choice took from his sobriety. Your drug of choice made him your focus.
whoa, whoa.
If you guys are not careful, you can, and people often do develop an addiction to the whole concept of twin flames and chasing that high of having this perfect union, and it's not good. It's
Yeah,
not good.
yeah. I will not allow anyone to impose an expectation of perfection on me. I will not allow it because, first of all, I'm not going to try to expect that from anyone else. I'm not going to try to impose it on myself. I will not allow that. And I think that it can be very empowering to kind of put those boundaries where they need to be when more is being expected of us than is even realistic, you know? And when we expect more of people than that's realistic too, no, it's not. It's just not loving, is not divine, and it's not realistic, you know?
What is love anyways? Is it an action? Is it a feeling? Is it a thought? Is it a state of being? What is love to everyone?
That's deep. That's a really good question. And as people are answering, I will say this. People say love is an action word. It is, but there's also something called conjugation. There's also something called, different parts and their nouns and verbs and adjectives and all that stuff. Love is not limited to that, you know. To me, that's something that love is. Love is an action. Love is also a state of being. Love is also just an energy, a beautiful, pure energy. And love just is. Love just is. It's not limited to attachment, you know, it's not limited to a relationship or our beliefs of what relationship or what family or whatever is supposed to be about. Love just is, regardless of how we have our own philosophies about it. Love just is. My personal observation.
Yeah, I think love is this omnipresent energy and consciousness
Mm.
that can either inspire us to rise higher than we ever thought we could, or sink lower than we ever thought possible,
Ooh, deep,
right?
deep.
Because love has the capacity to build you up as easily as it tears you down.
Mm. Well, let me ask you this: Why would love? Why? How does love have the capacity to tear you down?
Because when you love someone and it's unrequited love, that tears you in a way that nothing else could.
Hmm.
That's not them loving you. That's you and your definition of love tearing you to pieces. It's
Okay.
still love.
Love is not okay. Are you saying that that is love, or is that the definition, their definition of love, that's causing that disintegration?
I'm
Or
saying that's love in motion
wow.
through your distorted emotions.
Oh,
It
okay.
amplifies and
Okay.
then distorts. And in that distortion, it begins to wreak havoc on the structure of your belief in yourself.
Mm, mm.
It's like putting something on an unstable surface and allowing for ultrasonic waves to begin shaking it. And
Wow.
it appears stable when you're looking from far enough away. But if you're there in that ultrasonic field, it's shaking everything, and all the joints that are meant to hold together in a very static manner are being compromised, or
Mm,
tearing yourself down in your perception of it. But see, my view of that is not the traditional view, because in that you're then entering into a very divine space of deconstruction.
mm.
Your perception of love has been constructed in a way that's not, it's not habitable.
Mm.
right? And so you want to deconstruct that and use the same material to then build in a way that's the proper foundation for the type of bedrock you're on.
Mm.
And that way, even with ultrasonic pulses or whatever it is, the structure will still stand.
Mm. That's deep. That's deep.
That's a very difficult process to be in,
Mm.
because that's a very destructive one.
Mm.
That's one that will cause you to feel like nothing ever works for you. There's no one who will love you. And that's a deconstruction of one of your identities.
Mm. Mm. Would you say that love and truth are comparable in that they just are? And there's so many perceptions and expectations about what they are. Even, let's say, a religion. There's the truth, and then there's a religion, right? And not to say that it's false, but it's somebody's perception of truth. But does that change what truth really is? Just like there's love and there's perception of what love is, but does that really change what love is? And how does that affect us on an individual level? Is it really love that's doing that? Is it really truth that's doing that? Or is it really a result of our perceptions of what truth and what love are supposed to be? What do you think?
I think truth is a human concept
Mm.
and love is something celestial.
Mm.
And if you're going to commingle the two, you have to understand the limitations of truth and human perception of such.
Mm.
Because if you can free yourself from the human truth and
Mm.
enter into the absolute existence of soul, you can then begin to receive love in a way that will transform your perception of your human existence.
Mm.
But if not, then you're kind of just on this seesaw, teeter
Mm.
totter back and forth, teeter totter, right?
Mm.
And are you really going anywhere? Yes, there's movement, but there's also this transferring of that movement. So you never actually build enough of a charge to go ahead and lift off,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
It's just a matter of allowing yourself to fall before you kick yourself back up,
Mm.
right? So you never actually make movement. And I think human perception of truth is just like a seesaw. It's
Mm.
just back and forth, but you never actually go anywhere.
Mm.
Because humans, they stand in different places of positioning for their perception. And depending on where you stand, that's what's going to determine your perception. But if you look at love in every circumstance of divine unions from the proper placement of soul, which is a bird's eye view,
Mm.
you can see everything.
Mm. That's deep.
You can even see from within the mountain, above the mountain, beneath the mountain, off to the side of the mountain. I mean, it's something that you'll be able to begin contemplating all the different factors that are involved in that union that you're in.
Mm.
Like the way I began to perceive this, it's almost like a tug of war that was happening for a very short period of, wait, am I supposed to be in a divine union with uh, a stranger? Like,
Mm.
this is a stranger.
Mm.
There's soul resonance. My soul remembers this person. Absolutely, yes. But that's a stranger to me. I don't know you, sir.
Mm.
Like, I'm supposed to leave my husband
Mm.
and family for a stranger? I
Mm.
don't think so. Right?
Right.
So the human perception, um, it's definitely something that will not allow for that soul truth to be readily accepted and viewed.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're able to let the two kind of hold hands in a space of neutral, you'll begin to see
Mm.
things that will make sense. Like, oh, I just needed to know that that person existed.
Mm.
There was no need to run away with them or anything like that. And then came the reality of like, oh, that tug of war sense of like, oh my God, obligation on a soul level, obligation on a human level.
Mm.
Those are cycles from previous lifetimes.
Wow, that's profound.
Yeah. And then
Profound.
it came to the realization, now I've already made a choice of who I'm going to be with in this life. I'm with that person.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's nothing that um there was no misstep there. There was no miscalculation. There was no misjudgment. I'm exactly with who I'm supposed to be with.
Mm. So there was no need to, in hindsight, would you say, because you could disagree with what I'm thinking, but in hindsight, would you say that there was no need to run away with and there was no need to run away from?
Yes, both.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's no dichotomy. There's no need for dichotomy.
No, because dichotomy is die meaning two, right? How can you have totality if you live in a duality?
Mm. Deep.
In order to have a dichotomy, you have to be dualistic.
Mm.
There has to be a opposition,
Mm-hmm.
and whatever you oppose gives further clarity on where you stand. But
Mm-hmm.
if you enter into a space of totality, you can occupy both places and observe neutrally.
Mm.
As one is right, the other is wrong. You know, it's about going from an existence of either or
Mm.
and entering into a space of and.
And yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Mm.
Do you think this incarnation is the one where the soul contracts between you, your husband, and TR is resolved? Yeah, I think so. I think so. I feel like I finally reached a point of enough contemplation and observation where I don't feel that the proximity and presence of my twin ray in real life would present as any type of issue for my husband.
Mm.
Pretty sure my husband wouldn't like it, because of all the different things that people believe, and we don't know if that specific individual adheres to these distorted social media teachings of spiritual topics. We don't know that, but I do know from how I feel and the way I feel the energy. It's that even if that person believed wholeheartedly in the distorted social media teachings, that there is enough celestial based love there that he would always respect whatever I decided. So in that sense, there's absolutely no threat in any way, shape, or form that I've reached a point where I've come to a realization we actually probably could establish and maintain a very close friendship, and that it would remain platonic.
Mm.
There would be no issue, right? So when you can reach levels of understanding of how the interconnectedness could potentially be, then yeah, you very much have the opportunity to go ahead and resolve the karmic cycles.
Mm.
Because the karmic cycles are frozen lessons.
Mm.
They're miasma. They're just paused lessons. And as you continue the lesson, you begin to um, grasp things to the degree that you can begin to apply them in a way that's constructive for your life rather than destructive.
Mm. That's deep. I would like to ask you, I know we're kind of getting lower on time, but I'm not sure if this comes up a lot when people are talking about divine unions, but I know it's kind of something that's been mentioned just a bit here before. But one benefit of a divine union, right, on an energetic level, how about manifestation?
Oh, yes. Yes, there have been studies that have shown that um, men and women, that masculine and that feminine charge, they come together and they create the potentiality for manifestation. The
Mm.
women, the feminine energies are more able to direct that energy, but they can't sustain that energy. Whereas the male, the masculine frequencies are able to sustain, it has the stamina, it has that very explosive charge forward, but they don't know which direction to go. So they can't manifest.
Mm.
And I'm talking strictly about frequency charge,
Mhm.
frequency polarity, not men and women. So
Right.
when you take a look at men and women have a higher concentration of that feminine principle, that feminine energy, and the men have a higher concentration of the masculine energy. When you put the two together, the women can kind of navigate that energy while the masculine can go ahead and provide the fuel. It's
Mm.
power pack, and the navigator.
Thank you, because that's exactly what I was thinking about. Thank you for that.
That's why they went and tainted the whole subject matter of twin flames. Because when you compare two like that together, I mean, gosh, the potentiality is limitless.
Mm, mm,
Limitless. You literally cannot stop that.
mm,
And
mm,
these are studies that were done in a lab.
mm,
I have the video somewhere. I forget where I saved it to, but I came across that video a few months ago and I was like, yes, the navigator and the power pack. One
mm,
will always serve as a power pack while the other is a navigator. Very well versed in nuanced, refined directing of frequency.
mm. Deep,
Yeah.
very deep. This has been, I have really enjoyed this. I really have enjoyed this. How about you, Emmy? Have you enjoyed this discussion so far? And what about you, Sophia?
Yes, I've enjoyed it. I have. I wouldn't lie. I've enjoyed it.
Right. I am enjoying the conversation. It has been a truly enlightening and great experience.
I have enjoyed it thoroughly.
I'm so proud of you. No, seriously though, guys, this is so deep because I don't know if you know, and Emmy, I'm sorry to put you on the spot, homie, but I don't know if you know, but if you've looked over the last couple of years, Emmy has come so far in her receptivity and her I, so far receptivity and also in her grace when it comes down to this topic so much. And I just want to say I'm very proud of you because I know it may not even be the easiest thing for you to discuss all the time, but I'm so proud of you. You've grown so much in just allowing yourself to just be at this place. And I know it's been a process, but I am very proud of you. I'm saying that. I know we joke a lot, but I'm really saying that from the bottom of my heart. I'm very proud of you. And not only am I proud of you for yourself and whatever it is supposed to be for your own path, but also I have to say this is going to touch so many people. It's touching so many people, and I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now let me get this pillow because
Okay, I'll let Marlene out of
throwing
the.
tomatoes at me.
You're right. No, 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 no. You're right. I put Marlene in a box.
You did, guys. Okay. Can I share this, Emmy? Is it okay to share it? All right, all right. I've been feeling like Marlene has been trying to talk to me, and I be blocking Marlene because Marlene be in some other stuff sometimes, and I'm like, no, I'm not imposing anything. So you're not about to have this conversation with me. So I know I know your mother and all of that stuff, but I be blocking Marlene and her peoples. That's what I'm saying. Be blocking Marlene and her peoples, right? But I kept feeling her wanting to communicate so much today. But at some point, it's like I heard her like trying to communicate with like a muffled voice and like from a confined place. And I'm like, am I tripping? Or did Emmy put her in a box?
I
So
put her
I
in a
just
box.
needed to know if I was tripping or if Emmy put her in a box. And Emmy, can you tell them what the result was?
I didn't muzzle her because that would be rude to do that to someone's mother, but I did put her in a very comfortable box with heavy sedation. So she wasn't muzzled. She was just finding it hard to move her vocal cords. She was comfortable and euphoric until you called me out on it.
Oh gosh. I'm sorry. Oh gosh, that's so funny. I just had to know if I was tripping or not. And I was thinking, okay, well, if she put it in a box, that would make sense because, the sound is going to affect the sound, But I didn't know you did all that. But it makes perfect sense. So thank you for allowing me. Thank you for letting me know I wasn't tripping.
I was trying to put her to sleep, but Michael kept venting the freaking box. So it was just like, she's like, oh, I wouldn't hurt her. That's someone's mother,
Oh no, not hurting her. The sound was affected because before, it wasn't a muzzled sound. I was just trying to black it out. It wasn't muzzled though. But then at some point it became like, I was like, am I tripping?
She was heavily sedated.
Wow. She's gonna catch the replay and be so mad. Stop.
Well, I mean, the moment she got like all emotional, I'm like, honey, we cannot do this today. Take a nap.
That's hilarious. Oh my gosh. So, Emmie, I want to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
I know we talked about past life readings, but you also specifically have a twin reading. Is that what it is? What is it called? Okay. So, what is that? And then I want to ask you just in general about products and services, but what is that?
So the twin flame Claire Tarot is where we focus on the topic and energy of twin flames. And you have an hour with me and you can ask me whatever questions. We can focus on a specific person. If you want to know if the person you're with is your twin flame, that might be the best type of reading to book. I can't turn someone into your twin flame. You can't get mad at me just because you think it's your twin flame and suddenly I'm like, no, honey, that's not your twin flame.
Right.
So it's definitely I always hold myself to a high level of integrity and I will always be truthful in whatever information your higher self is expressing. But the twin flame Claire Tarot, it's strictly a reading. I'm not doing energy work. There's services like the Phoenix Dragon Shield boosters, things like that. Things having to do with the Phoenix and the Dragon. Those have a tendency to be twin flame activations, code corrections. But with a Claire Tarot, the twin flame Claire Tarot, that's if you want to know more information about the partnership that you're in.
Okay, that makes sense. Do you mostly get individuals, like people coming just single for themselves, or do you get people coming as two that want to know? Do you get both, or what's more common?
It's usually just the one person.
Okay.
I have had both.
Mm-hmm.
That has a tendency to become much more intense
Mm.
simply because the pair, especially if they're twins, they'll begin to amplify each other's emotions the more information comes through.
That's deep.
Yeah.
Wow.
So what I recommend is if you get a twin flame Claire Tarot, you do it by yourself and then you can share that video. You can let your twin watch it if you choose. But I found that when both are present at the same time, you typically will have one that's like trying to control the reading and it becomes a little bit disruptive where that one will be like, see, I told you. Remember when I was telling you, like, homie, let me finish pulling the cards.
Okay.
So it because then I have a squirrel brain. Let's just be honest. I have a squirrel brain, and if you like sidetrack my thoughts, I'm probably going to miss out the information that you need to hear.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And Lindsay, Lindsay's always on it. I knew I was searching for this, but I should have known if she's in the chat, it's gonna be on the screen. She's just doing it like that. But guys, when I was doing that, I noticed, is that half off? That's like,
it might be.
Oh my goodness.
Might be.
I'm about to click on the link and see again. Guys, I know it was significantly reduced, but let's see. Ooh, this joint is normally $144. It's $86.40. Y'all better, because you don't know these she got pop-up sales and she'll have them and then they may not be there.
You know what that is? I think I set the discount for Christmas wrong and it's still on.
Oh, so keep it up for today? I don't want to do any false advertising.
Yeah, no, I'll keep it up for the rest of the week.
Hey,
I'll keep it up for
that's
the rest of the
right.
week.
Y'all better get to it.
That probably means the crystals and stuff are still the coupon is still active.
You
Girl,
know,
I
I,
suck at setting those parameters.
oh, I
Is
think
it?
it might be.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay. She got all kinds of goodies on here.
it's
Oh my gosh.
all are my people. It's fine.
That's really sweet.
Annie said, I've had several twin flame Claire Tarot readings, and honestly, it's been so supportive and helpful. You're so graceful and respectful. You're
Mm,
welcome, Annie. Yeah,
beautiful.
my personal view on the twin flame topic, it
Mhm.
does not taint the reading in any way. It doesn't create a bias in me. When I'm giving you your information, it is yours. I'm not here existing to either force you into a relationship with someone or to cause you with malicious intent on my end to break up with someone.
Yeah.
I'm simply seeking to give you the clarity that you're asking me to assist you with, and that's it. You know,
Mm,
I'm like anyone who's known me for any length of time and has had like a lot of private interactions with me, y'all know I'm that girlfriend that I won't tell you to break up with someone or stay with someone. I'll just be like, well, what do you feel?
mm,
What's going on? What are you feeling? Why are you asking this? Let's get clarity on what it is you want. What do you want? Are
mhm.
you happy? Are you not happy? Like F what everyone else thinks. What do you feel in your heart? That's the kind of person that I am.
Yeah.
So, all the joking and stuff aside about twin flames,
Yeah.
it's not for me to tell you to stay with someone or not. It
Mhm.
is for me to give you the messages that are rightfully yours.
Mm.
That's
I
it.
love it. I love it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. Hmm.
So here is the twin ray healing. This is an activation.
I was looking for. Thank you, because I was looking for that. Thank you very much.
And then Lindsay also put the twin flame Claire Tarot on the screen. There's also the Phoenix Dragon activations. Phoenix Dragon is the first twin ray pairing that was allowed to exist on the earth.
Mm.
They were the first.
Wow.
So, it's kind of like that masculine feminine energy, that coming together, pulling apart. If you look at ancient Chinese folklore on the phoenix and the dragon, it's about this eternal love that's existed, and it's a really beautiful story. But that stems from their folklore that it was initiated by the first twin ray pair that was allowed to incarnate in physical form.
Mm. Now, what's the difference between that and a twin ray healing? And do you have to be in a relationship to get either of those services?
You don't even have to know who your twin is.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
You
Mm.
have a connectivity that exists whether or not you're aware of who the physical person is.
Mm.
So you don't have to know who they are. You don't have to be in a relationship. You don't even have to be friends. Um, it can clear on your end. And if the receiving twin is open to receiving, it will then also clear on them.
That's deep. Now, not to say that that is going to bring anyone's twin to a person, but in your practice, in your profession, have you noticed that after these corrections and clearings and activations are done, have you noticed that sometimes people end up encountering, you know, their twin, or not even necessarily their twin, but um, are they more receptive to a divine union, do you think?
Yes, because then the distortions that have been perpetuated by social media posts are cleared away.
Mm,
And for many people, not all, but for many people, they are able to feel that intense divine energy that exists between two sparks, right?
mm,
And it has nothing to do, again, with some type of sexual or romantic connectivity. It's something where they finally become aware, like, oh, wow, That's what it feels like. And they'll carry that feeling with them, and they'll begin to have a more stringent standard when it comes to applying the label of twin on someone. Yeah. So it helps. I don't want to claim that it brings your twin in,
Mm-hmm.
but I will say that what I see most commonly is that it clears away the distortions, and it creates a clarity of the type of connection you want to have with the right person. Removing the whole concept of the twin, the right person for you.
I like that. The right person for you. Exactly. That's beautiful.
Yeah. Is a black magic clearing or reversal available? Yes, Shiman, you would just look for a custom revocation. That's what that service is. Why is it helpful to know the twin? Um, there's various reasons as to why you would want to know who your twin is. For most, I know for me as well, um, being able to interact with a twin ray and see the twin ray exhibiting behaviors that I also have, and never understood why people received it in that way. It helped me to clarify for myself why those behaviors are not in alignment with my truth and who I am. And they weren't like horrible behaviors, they were just very like, for example, I have a tendency to just go completely mute on most people out of nowhere, and there's no issue. I can't sustain social interactions for prolonged periods. Either I get bored, I get overwhelmed, or whatever it is, right? It's usually something on my end, and I'll go quiet, and most people will get very upset with that. They'll start to become clingy. They'll message even more, and then that's the more I'm like, oh no 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 no. And I never understood why people get so like in a twist over it. Like, you have other friends, you've never even met me in person. We're not BFFs, just relax. Like, you don't need to be upset. But seeing the dynamic of that frequency and those behaviors, those coping mechanisms, recharging mechanisms, and I'm like, oh, okay. So I didn't realize I have that much of an effect. Like, when I enter into someone's space, I occupy tremendous amount of their awareness without intending to. And so when I take that back, when I retract my energy, it leaves a huge void, which causes someone to panic. And so I've learned to be more, rather than like, ew, why are you so clingy? Now I'm like, okay, you're okay. I'm just really busy today. And I'll chat with you when I have time, but I just don't have time right now. Rather than me not even explaining that, right? Because that's what I was doing quite a bit of, like, just I would just disappear and not explain, like, hey, I gotta run, I got things that are starting right now. And now it's like, hi, I gotta go, family movie night, or hey, my session's starting, I can't talk anymore, I'll chat later. And just letting people know so that there's no miscommunications, there's no hurt feelings.
That's
And I
good.
had to witness that outside of me. So again, it's not necessarily that I was needing to witness horrendous behaviors. It's that I was needing to gain an awareness, a nuanced awareness of some of my own behaviors. So that's why it would be helpful to know your twin. Um, but I mean, do you need to know your twin? I think if you need to know your twin, you'll know exactly who it is. That will be something that you cannot avoid. You will have that as part of your life.
And sometimes, do you think that knowing that there's a twin can kind of help a person, especially if they're really psychically sensitive? Like, okay, that's why I've been feeling something like that, or that's why that makes sense, or something like that. Does you think that kind
For
of?
some, yeah. For some, I know, for like a year before my twin ray came forward and introduced himself to me, I could sense someone had been watching all of my social media posts,
Mm,
and I could feel the intensity of that energy. I didn't like that. Just because I'm very private and I don't like feeling like people are watching me intentionally, and trying to remain hidden. And so I would, for like that year, I would make these posts of F you, Momo, I know you watching. Two single finger salutes.
Just off the gate, off the chain, out the gate.
Yeah. And then as we began to kind of have conversations, they had told me like, yeah, no, I had been seeing your post for like a year. And I was like, oh, you were the one. And then he was laughing. It's like, yeah, no, I saw you were like, I see you watching me. And because I felt it. I felt it. Like there's someone intentionally staying hidden. And that definitely drove me bonkers. Like, why are you hiding? you know?
Stand up, but that makes sense though. I would that would definitely seem beneficial. Like, okay, that's why. You know?
Yeah, and then I was able to let it go. Like,
Yeah.
I was all riled up for like a minute or so, and then I laughed because it was like, so I was accurate, right? Annie says, I know. And also, I never felt pushed to break it off. I realized that it must have been difficult sometimes for you to stay neutral considering the circumstance I was in. Annie, it was not difficult for me to stay neutral at all. At all. Because if I have love for one twin, I usually will then have love for both because you have the same resonance, the same energy. So it becomes this thing where I don't have an emotional investment in that way where it's like, girl, you have to leave him, he's wasting your time. No, I don't feel that. It's just like, oh my god, I know where this is headed. It's going to hurt you both so much. Like, oh, how do I stop it? But I can't. I just know it's going to hurt so bad. And I remember telling him that as well at some point. Annie's twin, I remember telling him, like, you both choose how this plays out. But I'll tell you right now, if you think that you can just leave, you're going to hurt yourself for the rest of your life. You're never going to forget about this woman.
Wow.
And then he just stared at me and I was like, I'm not joking with you. I'm not saying this as a girlfriend. Like, you are seriously going to punish yourself.
Wow.
So yeah, I don't I'm very similar to you, Ocean, where it's like whatever happens in someone's relationship, like that's not my relationship.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
you can vent to me and stuff. Unless it's something where it's like hands are being laid on you, which I'm like, girl, for real, like, come on,
Yes.
what's really going on? What's causing you to stay and allow to be treated that way? But
Yeah.
I'm not going to judge you. I'm
Yeah.
not going to tell you what to do, but I will be the voice of reason of like, girl,
Yes.
we're seeing things here. There's marks being left on you. Like, that's not okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. Would the twin be an evil twin who wants revenge? That would be a dark twin, or that would be a mimic. So typically twins are not involved in revenge. My dark twin, he's not involved in any revenge type stuff towards me. There's been times where we've been really upset with each other, like times where I've like seriously cussed him out and told him I would not miss you if you disappeared forever. It just really cut him down and he's like, whoa, what? Like, whoa. And I was like, I hate you. And there's never been a desire to have any revenge. We didn't talk for a couple years. And when I finally did reach out, his reaction was like, oh my God, Twinnie, I have been so worried about you and your family. I worried something was happening and you didn't return my messages. And there was no anger. He was just like relieved, like, you're okay, your kids are okay, everyone's okay. And I was like, yeah, we're fine. What do you want? I kept hearing his voice. I kept hearing him. And I kept feeling the worry, like, we're fine. I'm not incompetent without you. I was just like, who do you think you are? You're not even my savior. You're the dark twin, remember? But yeah, no, there's no revenge stuff. So that's the thing, you guys, we're labeling people who want to take ownership of us and dominate us as our twins. Twins do not do that. They don't do that. So I think I came across my twin ray. I don't know if it's like 2000, 2015, 2016, 27. I don't know. It's one of those years. It's been a long time. And ask me how many times that person has reached out to try and convince me that I'm living my life wrong and that I belong to him and I need to run away with him. Ask me how many times he's reached out to tell me that. Never.
Good. Yeah.
Never. Ask me how many times he said that when we were still in contact. Not a single time. Not one time. So that's the thing. I mean, unless you guys are telling me that you're shady AF, and that's why a shady person is your mirror. I mean, like, is that what you're saying you believe? That you are all about, and not Shimon specifically, but just to use that as an example, that you want revenge because you didn't get that person in your life. So then that's not a twin. That's something you want to own. That's like a pet, right? So in a divine union, even when it ends, there's none of that happens where it's like you want to destroy the person. Like, no, that's not a divine union then. Right? I know that if at any point, if at any point my relationship ends, I have no interest in destroying my husband.
Yeah.
None. I might be mad. I might call him the A word a few times and, be disappointed and heartbroken and what. I'm going to have to work through that on my own terms. It's not his job to maintain my happiness when he doesn't even feel happiness with me. Like, how could I ever possibly expect that of him if he couldn't even maintain his happiness in my presence? So it's this thing of recognizing you are the only one that's responsible for your growth, divine union or not. You are the one that's responsible for your peace, your happiness, all of that. Divine union or not, you are responsible for that.
Yes.
Right? It's not for you to put on someone that you're in a relationship with.
Yeah.
We all have our own traumas. And as we fall in love with people, we are also inheriting the traumas that they haven't successfully faced yet. So if you think that you're going to be, holding out until you find the perfect person who has no traumas, do you yourself have no trauma?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I like how you said how the person's not responsible for those things, but do you feel that a person can complement those things?
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
Absolutely. There are some people in our lives, if we're lucky enough, if we've cultivated ourselves enough, we create space and maintain space for people who can inspire us to remember our space of happy when we're not so happy.
I love it.
Right? There's times where I'm having a really rough day, whether it's work or something else, just a really rough day. And then my husband will say something that is just like the most, like, what are you talking about? But it's hilarious. And just for that moment, I forget about what I'm so in a twist over. And then it's like, well, if I forgot what I was upset about, I mean, do I really need to stay upset? Right. So, and then sometimes also you'll be able to establish a space of love with another person where they understand your needs to a degree that even you don't quite understand yet, So it's like I'm feeling myself getting wound up about I don't know what. And my husband will turn to me and be like, you haven't eaten yet, have you?
Oh,
Like you I think you need to eat.
yeah.
Like you're struggling. Or take a nap or be held or something.
Okay.
But yeah, it's that thing of it's not his job to maintain my happiness, but because that love exists and that awareness of who I am and my baseline exists, he's able to point out like, hey, you might want to check that. Like something's going on and it needs to be addressed so it doesn't become something worse.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
it's nice, and it's not done in a condescending way because then that's not love.
yeah, yeah. And it's not his job or your job or their job or our job to provide that happiness for the other person, but you can be happy together. You can be
Yes.
free together. You can be have something beautiful together, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. My Gemini can make a crying person cry. Comic relief is the best remedy. Geminis are awesome. They really are. A lot of people have a lot of negative things to say about Gemini, but that's just probably because you've never been loved by one.
Hmm.
When you're loved by a Gemini, it's unlike any other love.
Wow.
It's unlike any other type of love I've ever experienced. You
Interesting.
know?
Emmy.
Yeah.
Stop.
I don't know what it is either. Like, yeah. It's something. It's something. That's
Oh gosh.
Geminis are my favorites. Okay. Um, is there anything else that you kind of want to bring up before we go? Any last words?
No, not really. I just want to say I've really enjoyed this. This has been wonderful. It's been beautiful. It's been profound. And I would like to thank our soul fam out there because you guys are so great. Thank you for all the kind words. We may not address every comment individually, but we're grateful for all the kind compliments, all the great interaction and engagement. Thank you so much.
Definitely. So,
Emmy.
guys, we're going to be heading over to the after party over at the soulsanctuary.love. If
Not
you haven't gotten a chance to sign up for our recurring contribution yet, please go ahead and do that. Oh, Lindsay is so on top of things.
Cheers.
There it is. If you would like to join our exclusive chats, our exclusive ministry area, simply sign up for a recurring contribution. That's an ongoing monthly donation to our church, and you can pick the tier of contribution that you're comfortable with. It can be canceled at any time. All of those proceeds goes directly to Soulwork Synergistics. It doesn't run through any other processors except for Soulwork Synergistics. And we use those funds to fund our church programs and all of that good stuff. So, if you are interested in joining us for the chats and interested in supporting us in the work that we do, that's the best way to do it. I will see you guys shortly at the exclusive chat area for our recurring contributors. So, guys, please give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And we'll see you again very, very soon. Thank you, Ocean, for joining me today.
Thank you, Emmy. And thank you to Marlene.
She's napping. She'll be fine. All right, guys. Bye, everyone.
Take care.